subscribe.
And now, it's story time. In the spring of 2008, I was a pregnant single mom of a 7-year-old son and 2-year-old twin boys. At this time, we were staying with my mom, all 4 of us sharing a single small bedroom, all thanks to our previous apartment being infested with bed bugs. We essentially lost most of our possessions and spent the winter crammed into my mom's tiny house so I could save money to replace what was lost. And to make matters worse, my partner was dealing with some issues of his own and ended our relationship shortly after I became pregnant. So at this point, I was basically a homeless, pregnant, single mother. February of 2009, I had enough money saved to make the move. It didn't take me long to find and view a cute little condo townhouse being rented by the owner in a fantastic neighborhood that was close to my work, many grocery stores, restaurants, and even a movie theater. There were 2 parks within the condo development as well. It was ideal. Up the stairs, there were 2 kid-sized bedrooms along the right side of the hall and a laundry room and bathroom along the left side, opposite the bedrooms. The first room became the twins' shared bedroom. Next to it was my oldest son's room. The main bedroom that I shared with the upcoming new baby was at the very end of the hall. Right beside the main bedroom was the bathroom. The main bedroom also had its own private door conjoining it to the bathroom, which, as a heavily pregnant woman, I looked forward to. I wouldn't have to leave my room to access the bathroom. The main bedroom also had a white plastic cross over the doorway, which I found odd. It was adhered on by some sort of glue. I'm not religious, but also not offended by religion, so I didn't pay it much thought. When the woman showing the condo offered us the place, I immediately said yes, and we officially moved in on March 1st. Moving day came, and as we didn't have too much stuff to start with, it was easy to get everything in and set up. That first night, long after all our family and friend helpers left and the children were sleeping, I went to my new bedroom to take a much-needed rest. Not long after laying on my bed, I felt overwhelmingly scared, terrified, really, and sad. It was strange. I had been living on my own since I was 16, and I had never once felt this scared of being alone. I chalked it up to pregnancy hormones, had a cry, and went to sleep. The next night, and every night after that spent in that bedroom, I felt the exact same way. Scared and sad. Exactly 1 month after moving in, I went into labor with my first daughter. My adult brother came to my place to watch the boys. While in the hospital, in active labor, my brother called me shortly after 2 a.m. He said he felt really scared and sad, and he just wanted to talk to someone because he was overwhelmed. He went on to say how he's never felt like this before. He didn't know what was going on. I told him I've felt the same way while sleeping in that bedroom and suggested he sleep on the couch downstairs instead. I found our shared fear strange, of course, but I was pretty busy with the whole giving birth thing I was doing to really think about it. Baby was born a few hours later, and we were home to relieve my brother the next day. As I was a single mom with twin toddlers, my mom took a week off of work to help us all settle in with a new baby. The very next day, my mom was upstairs while I was downstairs feeding the boys lunch. The twins were strapped into their high chairs, throwing food around and making a mess like they always do. My mom came downstairs and said, "Which one of you boys was peeking on Grandma in the bathroom?" Confused, I told her, both boys have been in their chairs for a long while now. No one was upstairs. She insisted that wasn't possible. She just saw one of them upstairs. She was sitting on the toilet when the door connecting my bedroom to the bathroom opened a crack, and she saw little hands holding the door frame and a little kid's head watching her. I told her that's impossible because they've been strapped in their chairs eating for at least 20 minutes now. No one was upstairs. Her face went white, and she said, "You have a little ghost." I told her she was crazy, and obviously her imagination was running wild. She can be dramatic at times. But she insisted over and over that she knew what she saw. The rest of the week, with my mom's help, went along event-free, and now it was just me and 4 small kids. The bedroom still felt creepy and sad, but most nights I was so exhausted that falling asleep in sadness and fear wasn't so hard anymore. One night, not long after my mom left, I was nursing the baby downstairs so I could watch TV while feeding her. She finished eating and was in a deep sleep. It was late, like wee hours of the morning late. I was hopeful that the baby would sleep for a long stretch so I could get a few hours of scared, sad sleep. We headed upstairs. As I have toddlers, the hall light was on, but all the other lights were off. I quietly crept across the carpet to my room, careful not to wake the boys. I get to the threshold of my bedroom and see one of my boys sitting on my bed with his back facing me. I was about to ask him why he wasn't in his room when I realized it was not my son. This boy was the same size as my twins. He had chin-length bowl-cut sandy brown hair, a white button-up shirt, and beige shorts. Mouth agape, I stared at him. He was just sitting there, staring at my headboard with his little legs spread wide and extended straight out. He wasn't crystal clear. It was like looking at a hazy, live sepia picture, if that makes any sense. I stood there, holding my baby, staring at this kid for what felt like forever. Every hair on my body was standing up. My heart was pounding. I must be going crazy. I must be seeing things, possibly dreaming. I pinched my arm hard. He was still there. I blinked my eyes rapidly, pinched myself again, but he was still there, staring straight ahead, oblivious to my presence. I shook my head, and the boy turned around, looked at me, his eyes met mine, and poof. He literally disappeared into thin air. I went back downstairs in a state of shock and spent that night on the couch. After that incident, I told no one of my sighting of the boy. I was still trying to process it. Plus, I figured everyone would think I was insane. Sleep-deprived mother of a newborn who also has twin toddlers to chase around all day long, not to mention a 4th small child, has obviously lost her mind and is seeing things, is what I figured they'd say to themselves. I did talk to the condo owner and vaguely asked her if anything weird ever happened to her here. She said she bought the place as an investment and we were her first tenants, and asked why. I brushed it off and said, "It's nothing." So I sat on this experience. But not for long. Both my brother and sister happened to work in the restaurant located right by my home. It was less than a 2-minute walk from my place to their work. In fact, I've brought a baby monitor there before just to see if it would work. And it did. Anyways, both stopped by before and after work often. I needed a village to help me with my gaggle of babies at this time. One day, not long after my ghost boy sighting, my sister came over after work. My sister is one of the hardest-headed people you'll ever meet. She is set in her ways of thinking and not easily swayed. She is a firm disbeliever in anything paranormal. She laughed when my mom told her I had a ghost and said, "Mom's nuts." For obvious reasons, I had no intention of telling my sister what I saw. While she was over, She used the bathroom upstairs while everyone else was on the main floor. Suddenly, I heard her scream. She ran downstairs, white as a sheet. She kept muttering while pacing, "This can't be real. There's no such thing as ghosts," over and over. Finally, she calmed down and told me that while she was in the bathroom, my bedroom door opened and two little hands held the frame of the ajar door. A tiny little boy's head peeked out, and it was neither of my twins. She was shaking from head to toe. To this day, over 14 years later, she still says this was the moment that forced her to admit that ghosts do exist. I told her of my sighting of him. This is when I knew for sure I wasn't crazy and, in fact, had a ghost child. Over the 2.5 years we lived here, many people were peeped on by this little boy while using my bathroom. I didn't talk about him with everyone. I had no interest in swaying anyone's thoughts or stirring up imaginations. Plus, I was stuck with this little sad ghost kid. I didn't want to talk about him and give his presence more power. But still, cousin after cousin, friends and other relatives, many would come downstairs asking if one of the twins was peeking at them while using the washroom. Then I'd casually say, "Oh, that's just the ghost boy. He does that." I'd tell them about all the other people who saw him and attempted to normalize the experience so they wouldn't feel crazy. Needless to say, many people refused to come back. I personally saw him many times. I used to sit outside of my twins' bedroom in the hall to put them to sleep. Many nights I'd see the boy peeking out my bedroom door at me, watching as I read my book or folded laundry, waiting for my rowdy twins to fall asleep. The kids spotted him many times too. He loved to walk the hall when we were sleeping, peeking into bedrooms. We would hear him moving around, knocking on walls, rustling in the linen closet, moving things around at night. He was quite active and present often, and his presence was growing as time went on. Although my brother had felt this sad child presence and was amongst the first to feel him, he had zero sightings. He became quite obsessed with spotting the boy. As he worked close by, he came over after work most nights, hoping to catch a glimpse. This kid would never show himself to him. My brother would call to him, plead with him, try to befriend him. He'd sleep over in my bed while I slept on the couch some nights. But still, he saw nothing. One evening, after my brother left, I was sitting in the hall like I did most nights, waiting for the boys to sleep. Baby was already tucked in, twins were almost asleep, and my 7-year-old was at Grandma's house for the night. All of a sudden, I heard the static sound of a TV coming from my 7-year-old's room. I got up and found my son's big, old-style box TV was off its usual stand, lying on the floor on its side with that snowy white static screen. I went to turn it off and pick it up when it shut off on its own before I could touch it. I went to pick it up and it was unplugged. Not only was it unplugged, but the power cord was far from the outlet, so it's not like the power cord fell out of its socket while I was examining it. That was obviously unsettling. It seemed like this child presence was trying to tell me he did not want to be seen by my brother. After telling my brother about this encounter, he was obviously annoyed. Why won't this kid show himself? So, on a night when all of the kids were at Grandma's, my brother came over and stayed extra late. He ranted and raved. He swore at the little boy. He called him loudly, "Come out, you little bastard!" Still, the boy did nothing. My brother gave up and called his bus to return home. As it was late, I walked him outside to the stop. I was gone for no more than 10 minutes. When I went back inside, every single cupboard and drawer in the kitchen was wide open. I apologized to the little boy and slept on the couch that night. As time went by, that small baby of mine grew. She was quite a sharp baby, and she could talk from a very young age. She slept in my bedroom with me every night. Many nights I'd hear her talking to the ghost boy. At first, it was in her tiny baby babbles. As she grew up, she began to use words. She called him that ghost boy or the sad boy. He would wake her often at night. She seemed fond of him at first, but as time went on, when she was a little over 2, she grew more and more annoyed with him. I'd hear her say, "Don't bug me. Leave me alone. Go away." When I'd ask her about him, she wouldn't say much, except that she didn't like that boy, that he wanted to make us sad and scared. At first, I thought she viewed him as a little friend, but as she became more vocal, I realized this boy was tormenting her. One day she complained to me, "That ghost boy keeps waking me up. All the time he wakes me up," she said in her tiny, furious voice. I told her, "The next time he wakes you up, tell him to go to sleep. It's late." My baby replied, "I did, Mom. Lots. He told me he can't sleep anymore. He can never sleep again. That's why he's so sad." She paused, and then repeating in a hauntingly eerie tone, "He is so sad." Right then and there is when I decided I had to move. Obviously, I thought about moving before. I mean, who wants to live with a ghost? But the location was great. The condo was nice. My kids had daycare around the corner, and it was such a great price. I'd be insane to let a creepy, sad ghost chase us away. Plus, he seemed harmless at first. I thought he was a sad, lonely little toddler spirit. But this was the final straw. His presence was growing. He was torturing my baby. We had to go. We gave notice and moved a month later to a, thankfully, ghost-free home. 12 years have passed since we lived with the ghost boy. We live in the same neighborhood, not far from the condo development today, but we have never been back to that condo. My daughter wants to go there and see if the boy would remember her, but how do you knock on a stranger's door and broach this topic without having them call the police? It's a strange ask. I went on a local ghost tour in my city as a Halloween activity with my husband a few years ago. A few of the sites were in our neighborhood. Apparently, we live in a hotspot for the paranormal here in Winnipeg, Manitoba. The tour guide's theory was that the Battle of the Seven Oaks, or the victory of the Frog Plain, back in the early 1800s was the catalyst for the activity. I knew of the battle, however, I didn't think that would be related to our experiences, but who knows? Another theory I have is that this ghost boy was never really a boy, but something else, posing as a small, innocent child to gain trust. He never seemed to act like a little boy. He didn't play with toys. He never tried to befriend the twins who looked to be his age. He didn't develop a friendship with my daughter. He'd watch people as they'd use the washroom when they were vulnerable. Could it be that whatever this was fed off of our fear and sadness? Was he clever enough to take the form of a child so we would willingly live with his presence?
In addition, YouTube's algorithm prioritizes videos with many likes and subscriptions. So, if you enjoyed this video, please click the like and subscribe buttons to help more people see and know about this content. Thank you for watching and listening.